Good afternoon, my name is JP Weaver. I'm a head track and field coach at a small private school. Also in the past, I was a defensive coordinator at the same school. In the past, I played college football at the Division I level where I played outside linebacker. Today, we'll be doing our final project that will be both on the field and also in the weight room, where we will be demonstrating a young athlete who is trying to compete at the next level for football, and he will be performing a workout. That's a one session and a mesocycle, like I said earlier, both in the field and in the weight room to get ready to compete at the next level. I'll be introducing the training program, the layout of the program for this athlete who will actually be looking at playing outside linebacker at the next level. We'll also begin training by doing training techniques, which will be both verbal and physical, where I'll be giving a lot of verbal explanation and he'll be participating in a physical demonstration. We'll also start the warm-up with a routine with a warm-up, and we'll end with a cool-down, which will also be physical and verbal.
The first part of our session will begin with our warm-up. The warm-up is a very critical time for this workout that some people will abuse in their routines. The reason that we want to do this warm-up is because this is a segment where we're trying to warm up the muscles, but also bring up the blood to get them warm. The onset of the training session is also prepare the athlete when participating in this workout overall. A couple things that we want to focus on as our purpose, like I said earlier, is to elevate the core temperature. Also, our preparation is to make sure that we prepare the muscular strength system, the connective tissues, and also the skeletal system for the session that's taking place from the start of the workout to the end. We will also see the overall view occurring in the warm-ups. That also, the development here will be concentrating on flexibility and mobility before the athlete sets in fatigue. The development and coordination, the goal is that we be sure that the athlete is challenged and his coordination is trained through some complex drills. The first unit will be over the warm-up run, which is a good time for the athlete to warm up the body temperature and also warm the muscles up. This is also a good time for the athlete to use good form and proper form for the workout. The second part of the unit is going to be focused on our dynamic session. This is a very important time as we're working on flexibility and design to move joints through a large range of motions. Specifically, the warm-up will focus in on the demands of today's session. Warm-ups will start general and increase to more specific. The intensity warm-up will plan to gradually progress and eventually mimic the training session. The duration can take about 5 to 7 minutes for this activity. Also, our second part of our dynamics will be more focused on what we call our speed development. This will be a variation of dynamic drills like A-skips, butt kicks, and so forth. We will be more at these from 2 sets to 3 sets at 25 yards to 30 yards more specific. During our second unit, one version will do the leg swings. This is an exercise that is very important by doing both side and forward leg swings. The athlete will focus during this session of the dynamics to try to do around 2 sets of 10 reps on both legs, and then moving and doing forward, doing the same routine, 2 sets of 10 reps as well. The athlete wants to try to keep straight posture, but also keeping the shoulders relaxed, the legs straight, and keeping the foot dorsiflexed as they kick back and forth. One thing I'd like to see the athlete do here is try to keep the leg more straight, especially when they're doing their side leg raises versus their front and back. Also, the athlete needs to focus on proper breathing techniques and staying relaxed as they push their leg up in the air and back. The next exercise the athlete will perform is what we call lunges. This is a very important time and excellent for the quadriceps and also for the buttocks or the gluteus maximus. And it can also focus on the lesser extent of the calves and the lower back muscles. We can also do another variation of lunges that are important with backwards lunges as well. The athlete will lunge forward with one leg and bending it till the thigh is parallel. It is also important for the athlete to stay as straight as possible, not taking the knee too past or far or any past the toe. Keeping posture properly is important as well as the athlete goes through the phase, including the dorsiflex of the foot. Our next exercise in Unit 2 was what we call A-walks. These are very important for the athlete to stay posture level, head straight forward, keeping the shoulders relaxed, also with breathing technique, and keeping the foot dorsiflexed. Also, we want to try to keep the arms at 90 degrees and parallel with the legs as he does the exercise. Also during the A-walks, as we talk about posture, we want the athlete to make sure that he's keeping consistent rhythm with the drill. As you can see, he's doing a better job the second time through on his second set, keeping the arms and legs more parallel together and keeping an upright position with more rhythm. The second part of the dynamics will focus on picking the intensity up a little farther. And now we're performing what we call A skips. The A skips that are taking place are going to be at 2 sets of 25 yards. The A skips also perform very similar to the A march. During this time, while the athlete is in the air, it's important to keep level and also make sure that you keep the upper body upright, the foot dorsiflexed, and keep in rhythm with the feet, legs, and the arms. The next exercise being developed in Unit 2 is what we call butt kicks. It's very important for the athlete to continue to pick up the intensity and staying in rhythm as they do perform the butt kicks. This will also be 2 sets of 25 yards. During this exercise, the athlete will also start from a jog. The purpose is to make sure that it increases foot speed. Also, keeping the lower legs and the bounce off the part of the buttocks. The next exercise in Unit 2 will be what we call our high knees. It's very important for the athlete to attempt to drive the knees up past 90 degrees, also keeping the arms parallel with the knees. I would like to see the athlete on his second set perform the legs getting a little higher than they were on the first set. Also, this will be performed at 2 sets of 25 yards. The next exercise being performed in Unit 2 is what we call our side shuffles. We want the athlete to try to stay in a squat position, also using the arms to keep the shoulders relaxed and keeping the head forward. Also during the side shuffle, the athlete has a couple options. He can also flip his hips at the halfway mark and do the same thing, or can stay facing the same direction throughout the exercise. The athlete will do 2 sets of 25 yards. Unit 3 will be what we call our plyometrics. We'll be doing a jump series, also what we call a circuit. During this time, the plyometrics are going to enhance performance, and also because this increases leg power and trains the nervous system. During this time, the plyometric exercises involve rapid stretching, then shortening of the muscle group during high dynamic movements. This is very important for the athlete as they perform these. The first exercise in Unit 3 during the plyometrics is what we call a standing long jump. The athlete is going to perform these at 15 seconds for 3 total sets during the circuit. Also during this exercise for this athlete, we adjusted the feet to make sure they are more properly shoulder width apart, also pausing a little between each exercise during the routine. The next exercise during Unit 3 is what we call tuck jumps. The tuck jumps are similar to squat jumps, except you want them to be more vigorous. Also, the athlete will stand with feet shoulder width apart and bending his knees slightly, jumping up and driving the arms upward. The objective is to tuck the knees underneath as they reach for height on the jump. The last thing that's important as we're trying to reach 10 reps or 15 seconds during this circuit. We're going to be doing the lateral and forward and back hops. During this time, the goal is to use a 10 to 12 inch height cone or object. The athlete will begin either on the side or in front of the cones depending on what exercise is being developed. During this exercise today, we're going to be doing both forward and back and also side or lateral hops. The objective here is for the athlete to keep the knees high and explode off the ground, also focusing on reacting off the ground with quick feet during this exercise. The duration during this activity and exercise is for the athlete to do 3 sets of 15 seconds or set a goal of 8 to 10 reps per set. Also, through the circuit version, like we talked about in our other plyometric exercises, the goal is 3 sets of 15 for each exercise or hitting a goal of 8 to 10 reps during each. Also, we'd like to see the athlete during this routine do a better job in using quick feet and contact with the ground. Unit 4 will introduce a segment that will take just a few minutes. At this time, the athlete's going to use some speed training, but also work on his drive phase. He can come out of his linebacker stance, and driving, he's going to run a duration of 4 sets to 40 yards. The objective here is to use technique, fundamentals, and work on drive phase from the stance, running a straight line. We will also see the speed introduced back during the agility session, and again in Unit 6 when we do a skill/speed session. In Unit 4, we introduce what we call a sprint/form session for the athlete to build up through a drive phase. The athlete can start off in a linebacker stance based on his position, and the objective here is for the athlete to run full speed as fast as he can from start to finish and using the drive phase to his advantage. The objective here is to work on his speed. While doing so, the athlete again will start in a linebacker athletic stance and use speed for power and training to use the exercises during this time. The speed will also be introduced again when we use skill during Unit 6. in the speed and skill
We're
session.
now going to introduce Unit 5, which is going to be a agility routine. During the agility, the overall focus is the ability for an athlete to change directions quickly. One major focus is the athlete's footwork. Footwork involves rapid movements on the field, such as a linebacker, in our instance, not going inside or giving up inside leverage on a pass route, or when a running back makes a cut, the linebacker wants to keep the leverage on the running back where he can also use his footwork to his advantage. It's important to focus on creating drills that are going to create over to the football field, as you see here, where the athlete can use when they do play in game time situations. Some examples may include the shuttle run or cone drills. And today, one of our visual and physical is going to be our box drill that we will introduce.
In Unit 5, the exercise that we're introducing for the agility drill is what we call a box drill. This is a very good opportunity for anybody in the sport of football to first perform a sprint forward for 10 yards, doing a 180-degree turn, then turning into a lateral shuffle, another 180-degree turn, going to a back pedal, and a 180-degree turn to a sprint. The athlete can also repeat this routine during the exercise. The duration here is to make sure to do 5 to 6 sets, both directions, with sprinting forward to start off the drill. Also, you'll take a 1 minute to a minute and a half break between each set. You can also add other drills to this agility that can be incorporated during this opportunity. That can also give the athlete more of a mixture or a circuit routine.
To finish out, we will go into Unit 6, which will be our speed and our skill. What this means is, first, speed reflects leg power developed in the weight room, during plyometrics, which you've already seen, and during speed exercises, like we're going to see today on the football field. We want to emphasize short, quick sprints less than 20 yards, alternating straight, sideways, or backwards, and with power to speed. During this time, we also will incorporate what we call skill. This is for the athlete to use their ability, like for instance our linebacker today, where he's going to actually incorporate his speed and his drills into the skill development, which he will become more developed and powerful on the gridiron when he actually uses that in the fall when he plays football.
During Unit 6, we're going to introduce our skill development with some speed work. That will involve sprinting forward or running forward. Also can be followed by backwards running or backpedaling or lateral shuffles, similar to what was seen during the box drill, but now in straight lines. The athlete will also jog back in between each set to give himself a 15 or so minute break to return and do the next exercise. After the athlete is sprinting, he will now do a lateral shuffle for 10 yards, flip his hips, and lateral shuffle the opposite direction. Again, it's important for the athlete to stay down with good form, keeping his shoulders out in front of his toes, keeping his butt out past the back of his feet, and making sure he looks like he's in a football stance, or, for his instance, a linebacker. The athlete will then jog back to the cone, getting ready for the next drill, which will involve a back pedal at 10 yards. The athlete will back pedal at 10 yards, flip his hips, and turn it into a run, just as if he was running in coverage. One thing we'd like to see the athlete do a better job when he's backpedaling is to make sure that he keeps his head forward, as this would be very important during his football gridiron drills when he's on the field in the fall. The athlete will finish off at the cone he finished through with a 20-yard sprint, and then he will take a 1.5 to 2 minute break and repeat, but also he could do a variation of these drills.
Unit 7 will consist of the strength training, high-intensity resistance training program. In other words, we are now going to move into the weight room. As you saw on the field, we also did a warm-up routine to begin to get the blood flow up and also the muscles warmed up. We also want to do something very similar in the weight room with the warm-up. During this time, it's a strength conditioning resistance program where the goal is to do a specific warm-up that also fits to the weight room activities that you see here. In doing so, we only want to do 2 to 3 exercises, 1 to 2 reps, again, to specifically get the muscles warmed up for that workout that's in mind for the day. Moving on, in Unit 7, we will also do what we call our strength resistance training. This is the actual workout after the warm-up is complete. It's an important time for us to remember during training that the football player, such as our linebacker, is going to do a strength and quickness is the key with the resistance training. During this time, it's also going to incorporate a program that can minimize injuries. A program that is effective can be a way to, the strength and conditioning program, to also work on soft tissues which are productive in supporting the joints.
During this time, the training exercises and strength and weights of the ligaments and the tendons, which is also key in addition to the injury risk, which will all come together. And a football program, including to today's session, to finish out, the focus will include basic strength exercises such as a bench press, Olympic lifts such as developments of dynamics, where the strength is required on the gridiron, for emphasizing total body energy uses such as the power clean as a basic principle in the power sport like football, as today in training the movements, rather than the muscles. So again, our goal is we want to train the movements more so than training the muscles. The movements are explosive to adapt to the sport, which in this set is football, and the position that this athlete is playing, outside linebacker. Whole body power exercises will also be important, such as a medicine ball routine. Again, we want to develop things like strength and power, and this all incorporate in this program that we're about to visually and physically do. Again, when starting the resistance training, the athlete will start with a warm-up. In today's session, we're going to do a warm-up that consists of jump ropes, also squats, body weight squats, and resistance band, where we'll do a band pull-apart series. The athlete's going to jump rope for 30 seconds. After the jump rope session, he will then move to body weight squats, where he will do 8 body weight squats. And then after the squats, he will then move and do what we call resistance band pull-aparts. Again, when performing these exercises, the athlete is incorporating a routine that's going to be either fitting or closely fitting to his actual exercise that's going to be during the resistance training program and seen in just a minute. In Unit 7, after the warm-up is complete, which was a duration of 2 sets of anywhere from 10 reps to 15 to 30 seconds, we will now move into our workout. We will start this workout with a basic strength exercise, which is the bench press. The bench press here will consist of an activity that the athlete in a lot of programs will do a warm-up set, which will range around a 135 range of weight, and the athlete will do 6 to 10 reps during the bench press. During the bench press, the athlete will grip the bar at shoulder width apart or slightly wider. The thumbs will be wrapped around the bar, and the hands will be evenly spread. The athlete will position the bar above the eyes at the start and the arms straight. The feet is very critical, as they must remain on the floor during the exercise, as this is important for pushing. And the rear end on the bench, or the buttocks, and the head and shoulder should be stationary. When the athlete is benching, they should squeeze their shoulder blades together. They should put the head flat on the bench, and their feet should be on the floor, making sure that they are secure with the collars included. As you can see in this video, there are collars that are on to keep the weight in position. Also, the athlete is going to use 135 today for his workouts. And you do not see a spotter in this video, but we would recommend to have a spotter for the general strength program in a bench. In the bench press designed in this workout or this session, the load being used will going to range from a 60% to a 70% of the athlete's max. Again, in today's video, for purposes of the video itself, we're using 135 as the load to give an example. The athlete in the workout routine for the resistance program, the bench press, which is the general strength program, he will be doing one set of 6 reps at 60%. He will then move on after about a 1 to 2 minute break and do 2 sets of 5 reps at 65%. And then after this, we'll complete with 2 sets of 4 reps at 70%, which will all include his max. And again, we are using 135 for this video. So the athlete in total will complete 5 sets that range from 60 to 70% in total max, and ranging from 6 reps to 4 reps in length. In Unit 7, after the bench press, which is a press movement in our general strength, we're going to move on to our second exercise, which will be our cleans from the floor. This is also classified as a pull routine or an Olympic lift. The power clean, or what you say as a clean from the floor, is a variation of other exercises that will come into play. But for today, we are going to be talking specifically about the clean. The clean gets the weight to a starting position for the overhead press, for instance, or other movements. But again, today we're going to be focusing on the clean itself. The athlete's going to place the bar on the floor in front of the shins, keeping the feet approximately 2 feet apart, using a pronated grip and grasping the bar with the hands at about shoulder width apart. and squatting. The athlete will keep the arms and back straight and the head up or looking forward. The athlete will pull the weight up past the knees to the chest while the hips and shoulders are upward during this exercise. As you can see, the athlete did a pretty good job in doing this, but they need to keep their head a little more level. During this exercise as well, after pulling the weight as high as possible, the athlete will bend his knees suddenly and catch the bar at the chest level, just above the collarbone. Then stand up straight with the bar at chest level, returning the bar to the starting position. The main power for the exercise should come from the hips and legs, again, which is very important. Again, this is a workout as well, or an exercise that sometimes takes years to develop and also years to transfer over to the football field, which is very, very key, or which is very common for the Olympic lifts. This athlete is new to the power cleans and only performed these several times in his former program. So he's still learning and plans to improve when he does move to college. For the workout, for the routine that's being done or being performed in this session, the athlete is going to clean 2 sets of 5 reps at 60% for the first 2 sets, and then continue at 2 sets for 4 reps at around 65%. Again, the athlete's using lighter loads because of the training video that we're using. And also, in teaching and in future reference, the athlete's going to work on a little more explosion and using more of a squat technique and coming underneath the bar more at the chest in the future. You can classify it as a squat technique, and he'll be performing what we call dumbbell step-ups. As you can see, the athlete has dumbbells and also a box. Also, the athlete will be performing 3 sets of 8 to 10 reps on these alternating steps. The athlete will start by using the box that allows his front leg to be at a 90-degree angle. He will then place the front leg, which can be the right or left, which will alternate, on top of the box with his foot flat. Next, he will step and he will drive his other leg up, trying to keep also a 90-degree and making sure that his foot is dorsiflexed or pointing more towards his body. He wants to make sure that his front leg drives up onto the box with powerful technique, but also being smooth, keeping the upper torso as vertical as possible and his chest up. He wants to slowly make sure when he returns back to the ground that he makes a smooth landing. Also, this will be an injury prevention in keeping his flexibility and comfortability when performing this exercise. Or what you can consider a press technique, which is the incline bench. When the athlete does this, he's going to be using dumbbells today. So the incline dumbbell bench press, the athlete is going to start by lying on the incline bench, as you can see here in the video. Next, he will make sure that his feet are flat on the floor and hold the dumbbells with his arms extended with the starting position. And again, we will not be using a spotter based on the video today. So he will extend his arms. He will slowly lower the dumbbells until he feels a comfortable stretch in his chest. The dumbbells should come to a brief, complete stop, slightly below his chest. He should then push the dumbbells back to full extension. He will now move to his next exercise, which will be the bar or barbell tricep extension. Today the athlete will only be using the barbell with no weight. The athlete will first start by lying his back firmly on the bench or smoothly. He will then hold the bar evenly in front of him, in front of his head, out in front of his body. He will then lower the bar slowly to the top of his head, but again making sure that he is keeping control of the bar so he does not hit his head. He will then feel a stretch in the triceps before extending back upwards or extending his arms out. It is very important for the athlete to make sure that he keeps his elbows in stationary position as best as possible and keeping the weight controlled. As you can see, the athlete is doing a very good job here in keeping the extension of the bar and making sure that it's going right above his head and keeping the elbows in a stationary position. This athlete will perform 3 sets of 8 in this session today. Next, the athlete will be performing what we call side lateral raises. The athlete will also be using dumbbells today in this video. When doing this, the athlete wants to complete 3 sets of 8 repetitions. He will begin by using his arms and hanging them by the side of his body. Thumbs will be pointed out once he picks the dumbbells up. So now the athlete will pick the dumbbells up, his arms will be hanging beside him, and his thumbs are going to be out on the dumbbells. With his arms straight, it's important that he makes sure that he looks at his elbow to raise the arms and make sure that he has his arms on the side and his hands are parallel with the shoulders. He will then make sure when he does this to pause at the top and lower the weight as he goes back down. He does not want to rest at the bottom. He wants to make sure he also does not swing his arms but keep them straight as he goes up. We're going to try to get a better angle here as we come around and watch him from the front as well. Again, he's going to keep his arms straight. He wants to keep the weight controlled, and he wants to make sure that when he's coming down, he's not bouncing or bending his arms and not resting too long. For the next exercise, the athlete will now be performing more of a body weight routine. He will also be using a medicine ball and an exercise ball for this. He is going to be performing a crunch on the exercise ball. He wants to make sure to lie on the ball until the thighs and torso are parallel with the floor. He wants to cross his arms, or in this instance, he's going to be using a medicine ball, so he can cross the medicine ball over his chest in contact with his abdominal muscles, or his abs, raising his torso to no more than 45 degrees. So he wants to raise his torso now, still laying on the ball. Then he wants to increase the stress on the oblique muscles by moving the feet closer together and placing the hands on the ears, which in this case, he will be crossing his chest because he has a medicine ball. He does not want to grasp the hands around the head because in this instance, why it's important, we're using a medicine ball to take advantage of not even using his hands around his head area. And he wants to make sure when he does his crunches or sit-ups, he wants to keep his hands across the chest where the ball is to prevent injury technique. The athlete's going to perform a couple exercises. In this routine, we're going to use a version of 3 to 4 sets at 25 to 35 reps. After the exercises and the resistance training are complete, the athlete will finish his workout by completing a static stretching routine. Today, we're going to be showing 3 different stretches as the athlete will display these on video. When stretching or doing a cool down in the end of the workout, the athlete wants to make sure to statically stretch in a position and hold 10 to 30 seconds. For our strength and conditioning program and for our session today, our goal is to hold 10 to 15 seconds. And we're going to rest for 30 seconds in between each stretch. The practice stretching exercises regular also to develop flexibility is going to happen gradually over time. And it is important to also perform outside of the weight room and during other activities. During this cool down exercise, the flexibility is going to be important as the athlete will be performing these at the end of the routine. Today, the first exercise routine the athlete is going to perform is simply keeping his feet together and going to touch his toes. It's important for the athlete to keep his legs straight, to breathe, inhale, exhale, and to go down as far as possible with just a little discomfort, but not too much. As you can see here, the athlete has good range of flexibility and is going to hold the stretch again 10 to 15 seconds in our session. After this routine is complete, this exercise, the athlete will now move into the next routine, which is a modified hurdle stretch. So he will stand up and relax for about 30 seconds. Again, in video purposes, he's going to go ahead and sit down now, and he's going to show us the next stretch, which is going to be a modified hurdle stretch. The athlete is going to take his right foot and put it inside. He's going to keep his left foot straight out in front of him. And what he's doing here is he's going to stretch out his hamstring muscles and lower back. Again, he wants to do this because it's important, especially after a routine that involved running on the football field and also exercise in the weight room. When doing this, he wants to keep both hands outside and inside of his toe and on top and holding the stretch. He wants to try to drive his knee down to the ground as close as he can on his right leg. That is the modified part. And that will also help stretch the groin and the hip additionally. The athlete will then, of course, alternate and do the same thing after a 30-second break and hold the stretch from 10 to 15 seconds. Again, it's important that when doing this, he is holding this stretch and keeping in mind that he wants to feel small discomfort but not too much based on his flexibility. In today's session, the athlete will finish with one more routine, which he'll stand back up, and he will now complete his arm across his chest. Again, the athlete performed several exercises that were total body exercises, and so he's going to stretch his arms across the body, which is also a shoulder stretch. When doing so, again, for our session, he's going to hold 10 to 15 seconds, and then he'll alternate and switch to his left arm and do the same thing after a 30-second break.
The exercise stretch in this routine should be a shoulder and upper back stretch. He will stand and cross the left arm or the right arm in front of the body, and he will hold it with the opposite hand, stretching the arms, shoulders, and back by gently pointing the arm. That will complete the athlete's session and units in his workout.
Thank you for being a part of this workout session that started on the football field and then ended in the weight room. As you can see, both myself and my athlete did perform a sweat, which is also important. We want to do that during warm-ups and during high-intensity resistance training. Again, I want to thank everyone for being a part of this, and it was a good time for us to show you a session that started outdoors with a warm-up, to a dynamic, to a running series of plyometrics, to an activity that was agility, all the way through running and speed programs to skills, into the weight room where we did high-intensity training from press to pulls to squats, and then of course, going down to lower intensity body movements all the way down to our core and our stretching routines. Again, I want to thank you for being a part of this video.